After I have my quilt all down on the floor, tight, wonderfully stretched, perfectly square, you are going to want to use rulers to make sure that things have a nice 90-degree corner. I will then baste it. When I learned to baste, I learned to baste in a star fashion like this. But what happens then is all the basting is in the middle and it's pretty rugged on the outside edge. How I baste is in a grid position. I will go in one position, one way like this, one way like this, and then come down and go like this, and so forth. When it's all done, I will baste exactly around the edge of the quilt. If I'm going to be working on a hoop, you probably want to baste it every 3 inches. If you're going to be working on a frame, which requires basting, about every 5 inches. Also, make sure that you use a neutral colored thread. You don't want to be using a thread that was perhaps in Grandma's sewing box, lest it might bleed on your quilt. Yes. And then I have a really cool way of working the needle with a spoon. Let's take a look. Now mind you, this is just a reenactment, but what you do is you get a spoon, not a sterling silver spoon, a spoon that you don't care if it gets scratched up. You use a needle for basting that is much longer than your betweens, and once it's all pinned onto the floor or basted on, or secured onto your table and it's time to baste, you go through all 3 layers and then you use the tip of the spoon to pick up the thread. So again, you go under all 3 layers, you use the tip of the spoon to pick up all 3 layers. And that way I can baste a quilt that is, let's say, 80 by 80 in about 2 hours.